You know what time it is. Time for this man who joins us each and every week to talk a little baseball and beer. He is Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs.com. You can follow on Twitter at J_Jaffe. Check out his work at Fangraphs. In fact, I want to begin today, Jay, with a story you just wrote about on the site, talking about the health and safety protocols that's going to be happening with Major League Baseball and what essentially 2021 is going to look like. As the players and owners finalized everything a few nights ago, and they decided they're going to stay on track for the start of the season and keep everything on par. Were there any surprises as far as some of the things that are going to be coming into play here in 2021?
Surprise probably isn't the word I would use. I mean, I think we all expected this to be, fairly detailed, to take the lessons from last year, and maybe some new innovations, and I think that's what we got. We knew the designated hitter wasn't going to be part of this agreement. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to expect that the two rule changes that were designed to speed up games and to allow flexibility for rescheduling and not burn out pitching staffs, namely the runner on second and extra innings and the 7-inning doubleheader games, were going to carry over. Pure from a standpoint of a purist, I think those things are understandably rankle, but a lot of people, I mean, our Fangraphs readers disapproved of them by 3-1 or 2-1 margins, depending on which rule we're talking about there. But the players actually didn't seem to mind them so much. In the media, I think a lot of people appreciated spending a little bit less time at the ballpark as well. I don't think they were horrible under the circumstances. The real thing, for me, I think the interesting stuff is the wearable technology for the purposes of contact tracing, because I think the players have a hard time being objective and forthright when it comes to remembering every interaction that they've had, in the case that you got to retrace your steps. I thought that was interesting. I thought the return of some limited amount of in-game video on the dugout iPads with the either blacked or blurred out catcher signals so that they can't be used for sign stealing. I think those are two things that are, I think, going to be improvements. I think the mandatory masking is good in the dugouts and stuff like that. I wish they'd taken a stronger stand with the rollout yesterday on vaccinations. Certainly that's the actual operations manual stresses that, but I think MLB could have driven a point home, from a public health standpoint in a stronger way. That this is how we get things back to normal. Is it getting as many players as possible vaccinated? We're not cutting the line here, but we want everybody to get vaccinated, and that includes fans, because that's going to bring everybody back to the ballpark, sooner, so we can all enjoy this game.
Speaking of fans, I just saw that New York is going to be able to operate in 10% capacity for venues 10,000 or more here at the end of February. Is that a good thing for New York City, in your opinion?
I mean, look, I think New York is ever since beyond the first wave of the pandemic, when it was just disastrous here. I think New York has probably handled this better than most parts of the country, but I don't think there should be any rush to get people, especially in indoor facilities. Outdoor facilities, I think it's a bit different. But you're talking, that's 5,000 people at Yankee Stadium, 4,000 some odd people at Citi Field. I mean, it's just, I think it's elevating the risk for everybody involved just by doing that for just a small trickle of revenue. It hardly seems worth it.
Tell me this much, and you probably have a good answer. Why do the players not want the universal DH? Since chances are it could create more jobs for players that are deemed not really good fielders.
They want it. They just don't feel that that attaching it to an expanded playoff is an equitable trade, that's the way the owners have approached it. It's like you're not getting the universal DH, which the owners want too, because they want more offense in the game in general. But they're trying to tie it to the expanded playoffs, which is an order of magnitude or more in terms of financial windfall. And they've decided to treat the DH as an economic issue, not as a health and safety issue. Last year, it was considered a health and safety issue, although that was kind of debatable. and that's why we are where we are is because the owners, see this as a bargaining chip, and they haven't the players haven't given them what they want, and I think we're probably at this point might be going without it this year,
Susan
which is silly.
Slusser, Susan Slusser just tweeted out a little while ago that the Giants have received approval from Major League Baseball, working with the city of Scottsdale to host approximately 750 to 1,000 fans per game for each of the home games at Scottsdale Stadium. Are you more surprised that baseball is going to go ahead and allow fans in Cactus League and Grapefruit League games?
Yeah, I think given how Florida and Arizona have handled the pandemic, I wouldn't be doing that at all. I think this is just a naked cash grab, and it really undercuts everything that they're trying to do in good faith with the health and safety protocols.
I'm with you on that one. As far as the rest, 7 inning doubleheaders, we've seen them in AAA baseball. We've seen them in the minor league. So that's really nothing new when you talk about that. The extra innings rule still drives me crazy. I hate the fact that you lead off an inning with a runner on second base just because it increases the chances of scoring so much more. So if there's one rule I could really do without, it's that one.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I can't say I like it. In theory, in practice, when I'm watching a West Coast game and it's and it's 12:30 and it goes into extra innings, I kind of don't mind a quick resolution so I can go to bed.
I'm trying to figure out, Jay, since this is really the last year of the CBA before they ratify a new agreement, how difficult those talks are going to be, and could it get
Nightmare, Steve.
yeah,
Nightmare.
to the
Like
point where
hell
could
with the
we?
lid off.
Do you think we could actually lose part of next season? Could it be that bad?
Very, very much possible. Look, I think these two sides, they don't like each other. They can't stay out of their own way. I mean, look, I think this still goes back to the owner's tendency to try to negotiate through the media first. Um, there are, they have enough. The commissioner's office and the owners have enough, big name writers in their pockets to leak this stuff to,
Yeah.
and they're more than content to do it this way. And it's, you're the power relationship is always such that they're going to have the louder voice in this. Um, and the average Joe is still, for some reason more inclined to side with the billionaires than the millionaires, because they think, hey, I could be playing, if I'd play for 1/10 the money this $30 million a year guy is making. And it's just, the history of baseball and professional sports. We see this over and over again, and nobody should be surprised.
Talking baseball and beer with Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs.com as we continue. Give me your thoughts on the baseball. They're talking about now trying to deaden it a little bit more in 2021. I know Sarah's covered that story as well, but your thoughts on the baseball not being as lively this season?
Yeah, I'm still kind of digging through this. I'm probably going to have to write about this for Fangraphs. My initial reaction is, hey, that's okay, but it's probably you got to look out for unintended consequences. There's a report at Sports Illustrated with the research of Meredith Wills, who's done a lot of stuff that's kind of driven the conversation, about the juice balls. That's suggesting that this announcement by MLB basically was having their hand forced by the revelations that were about to come out. And that last year they did try stuff, and now. This is those revelations are coming to light. I think it's more reactive. I don't know. I'll have to get to the bottom of this hopefully sometime in the next several days to get a better read on that piece, as well as the initial piece. But I think the game is too home run centric. I would rather see fewer home runs. I think most of what's happened with the baseball has to do with manufacturing changes that have had unintended consequences in terms of reducing drag and increasing carry. And I think it's fine for Major League Baseball to experiment a little bit to find a more happy medium. Encourage, but I encourage transparency, and what we haven't had is transparency. This looks a little bit like transparency, but it may be a little bit more, a little less clear cut than that.
Jay Jaffe back with us, Fangraphs.com, as we talk baseball and beer here on the program. All right, Jay, so a lot being mentioned about the season coming up. Let's talk about some of the moves that we've seen over the last few days. I wouldn't say they're minor moves, but they're not the big ones. They're not the Trevor Bauer to the Dodgers that went down. By the way, did that move surprise you since the Mets were thought to be the front runners till the very end?
Yeah, I really was surprised. I thought he was going to the Mets. It seemed like they were prioritizing that because they kept their powder dry when it came to George Springer and JT Realmuto, both of whom I thought would have been excellent fits given the roster. And I wrote about their ongoing center field problem at Fangraphs on Monday. Pitching after getting Carlos Carrasco to line up behind Jacob deGrom and retaining Marcus Stroman. I thought that starting pitching. Look, you certainly pay for it, but Bauer brings some extra baggage to the equation that I just thought they could have done better without that kind of friction with those other two guys. The Dodgers do not seem to need starting pitching, but there they are, and they swooped in and kind of took advantage of the fact that Bauer is from the area, at least in terms of going to UCLA.
Yeah, but you look at 1 through 4 right now, and if you've got essentially Kershaw and Buehler and Bauer and Price coming off the injury, and then your fifth starter is either Julio Urias or Dustin May, that's about as deep as you're going to find anywhere in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's madness, and the thing is that I can't get off of is I would put good money on Walker Buehler out pitching Trevor Bauer over the next 3 years. Buehler had, he had some consistency issues last year during the regular season, and a lot of it had to do with just how short the season was and all the health issues that went into it. Bauer's had really two really good seasons in a 9-year major league career, and one of them was 12 starts. Yeah. Walker Buehler's already done, more, had a better full season than Trevor Bauer has, and he's about 4 years younger. So I don't know there. I think they wind up trading Price to make room to sign Justin Turner, but I don't know exactly what's going to happen there.
All right. Meanwhile, your thoughts on the Braves spending $65 million over 4 years for Marcell Ozuna, another story you wrote about on Fangraphs.
Yeah, I think at that price, I think he's a bargain. I think that the uncertainty about the designated hitter hurt him. I did a little thought experiment comparing him to Bauer. I mean, like Bauer, he had his best season during a pandemic over what's been, generally an above average career. They're the same age, and yet he got less than half the average annual value. And part of that, I think, is because even without the designated hitter this year, long term, the Braves do view him as a DH because his shoulder has never been the same after that surgery. I'm still surprised he didn't get something closer to at least $20 million a year. But it's a tough market out there.
Speaking of tough market, Jackie Bradley, we keep hearing he wants 4 years. Do you think there's anybody that's going to give him the 4 years and the money he wants?
Not at this stage. I think again, this is a guy who would fit the Mets bill. They don't want to go more than 2 years. He wants 4 or 5 years. He's not going to get 4 or 5 years. I mean, this is Scott Boras' client. And his track record is a bit spotty, unfortunately, which makes it harder to convince anybody that this is a wise deal. But certainly, I think a 2 or 3 year deal for Bradley makes some sense. Even if he's not an above average offensive contributor, he can still go get it.
You held a Fangraphs chat over the last week. You wrote about their best remaining free agents. You wrote about Albert Amora Jr. going to the Mets. That's all up on the website right now at fangraphs.com. What do you have for us in the next couple of days as we get you ready for your beer pick of the week?
I'm writing about the Yadier Molina contract and a little bit about where he stands with regards to my Hall of Fame stuff. Kind of revisiting that. And beyond that, I don't know. I might look into the baseball thing. I might have a little too much on my plate to look into that immediately and kind of get that when the next chapter falls. But we'll see what else. Eventually, Bradley's going to sign. I'll probably take that one. We're just doing a lot of transactions. Some days it's a small transaction. Some days it's a big one. All
right, let's wash this whole thing down with your beer pick. What do you have for us this week, Jay?
Okay, this last week I wrote about Threes Brewing, our favorites here in Brooklyn, and talked about their commitment to things besides the IPAs. Well, here's my favorite of their IPAs, Unreliable Narrator. This is a hazy New England style IPA, 7.2% ABV. It's got notes of orange and mango, but also a nice bitterness on the back end with some kind of the piney bitterness. I'm sure I've probably talked about it at other times there on this show, but Fresh Can is one to beat. When Three sends me the emails, if they've got Unreliable Narrator, which they do about once a month, it's like, okay, time to place my order here. So, and it's my wife's favorite, so it's a good one.
How bitter are we talking about? What are the IBUs on that?
Not too, it's I don't know what the IBUs on it are offhand here. I'd have to look. Hang on. Yeah, they don't list it, unfortunately, at least on Untapped.
Okay, but the point is, it's a pleasant beer, and at 7.2, you can have a few, maybe not a ton, but still enough to enjoy.
Yeah, I think my days of drinking, drinking more than two of these in a sitting are more or less behind me, except for a special occasion.
Jay, look forward to next week. Thanks for the time as always. We appreciate it.
All right, sure thing, Steve. Take care.